Bonjour.
Ouais, je veux un... Ah,
First rule, always say bonjour if you don't want the baker to be angry.
oui, bonjour. Je veux une baguette.
You'll hear its unmistakable sound in tiny islands in the South Pacific, bustling capitals in West Africa, and chilly ports in the northeast of the Americas. Not to mention, of course, here in Paris. The French language is spoken by more than 390 million people all over the world. A linguistic community celebrated by the International Organization of Francophonie, or French-speaking cultures. And to tell us more, I'm joined by Benjamin Chardron, a French teacher whose linguistic reach extends well beyond his own classroom. He's also known as French Takeout on Instagram, providing tips and tricks to master la langue française. Here's a glimpse of his teaching style.
Visser. Foncer. Penser.
How to give your opinion in French?
En vrai, je sais pas. T'en penses quoi?
Merci beaucoup. Merci infiniment. Je suis extrêmement reconnaissant. Qu'il est Sam. Bonne journée. Bonne journée.
Oui, merci, au revoir.
Benjamin, bonjour.
Bonjour.
Well, seeing your enthusiasm for language there, really great communication style, it does suggest that you were a born teacher. But I did read that this wasn't your first career plan. You were training to be an architect, urbanist. What made you want to switch to teaching French?
This all went back to Taiwan because I moved to Taiwan for 9 years. And I was teaching to French at that time, like to people like in a French school. And I decided to switch because I felt at that moment like teaching French was much more interesting for me and for people. And you can see the progress like in my students. Like I could feel like, okay, this person like 2 months ago couldn't say any word in French. And now it just can order like a cafe just in front of me. So, and you can feel a difference. That's why.
A real sense of achievement there. Now, language learning today, of course, it's really changed. It's not the dusty chalkboard and the old fashioned textbooks of back in the day. We have apps to track our progress, AI chatbots, online teachers like yourself. How do you think the digital space has changed the way we speak and learn languages? For example, have we seen an internet slang develop?
I feel like since, like I would say, 5 to 7 years, like teacher became content creator. Like the way we teach is more about the way we show things. We can show like different like type of grammar rules and everything, but the way we show is the most important thing. Like you have to be interesting for people. That's the most important thing nowadays, I would feel. And
So more show, less tell. And of course, the French language is impossible to separate from its cultural context, the traditions. And one thing I noticed about your videos is there are so many references to food, whether it's recipes, kitchen vocabulary, a guide to the best French candy, and of course, a very sad culinary scenario that some of us have experienced. You really captured the tragedy there.
yeah, totally.
But croissants, of course, are just massive on social media. The hashtag croissant has more than 6 million posts on Instagram. There's loads of French lifestyle and gastronomy content there. It's a real brand, isn't it? I mean, do you think that's down to just a fashion? It's a trend? Things like Emily in Paris?
It's fashion for sure, like croissant. You hear croissant, not even like the word, just the croix, like the sound of the croix is like very funny for foreigners. But yeah, it's much more fashion nowadays. Like you can see like brands, like even like in New York, you have like tiny croissants, like cereals. So everything is made around croissant, like, and who doesn't like croissant?
Of course. And so if Paris is having its sort of 15 minutes of fame on social media, what's next? Do you think that can last?
Of course, it will last like all the way. Like it would be like for years and years, croissant, more and much more food after that. I feel like before it was the macaron, now it's the croissant. More things to come, but I don't know yet for now.
Yeah, probably moving outside of Paris, perhaps more into France. But seriously, your pedagogical content, has some really useful stuff about grammar, pronunciation, something many non-native speakers struggle with, which is gender, the gender of certain words. You made a great lesson about the gender of countries, for example, how to work out which gender a country is. Let's take a look.
Struggling with the genders of countries in French? I got you. Bonjour, vous allez où?
Bonjour, je vais France.
Okay, so in French, countries ending with the E are usually feminine. So en France, en Italie, en Espagne. Et après?
Ah, next, je vais en Japon.
Ah, Japan is masculine. Doesn't finish with the E. So au Japon, like au Portugal, au Canada, au Maroc. Ok, et ensuite?
America, oh, say, can you see?
Ok, aux États-Unis, AUX because it's plural, like aux Maldives, aux Philippines, aux Pays-Bas.
And the Paris City Hall recently got in a lot of trouble for using inclusive language in their commemorative signs. Now, inclusive language, for those of us who don't know it, is a neutralized form that adds extra letters at the end of the word to include both genders or plurals. The Académie française wasn't happy about this. They said that adding letters or pronunciation marks deviates from French language's heritage or its ancestral form, which should be protected. What do you think? Does French need this protection from outside influences?
A language it's just evolution. Like the way I speak French nowadays is different like 30 years ago than my grandparents, and my son like in 20 years will be like totally different. So rules have to change. They will change by itself. Like we don't know yet, but you will say like in 20 years it will change. And I feel like nowadays like the inclusive rule, it already appeared, but like more in the new social media, like on YouTube, Instagram for the new generation, but a bit less after that. Like on the newspaper, it's a bit harder. It's like the old style way of seeing the news. Like
So it is coming in slowly. Well, the Académie française, of course, is often viewed with a mix of fascination and suspicion by non-French speakers. While these literary scholars are tasked with safeguarding la langue française, contemporary authors often take a bolder attitude, experimenting with the language and bending it to meet their needs. We recently heard from Francophile Dinal Mengistu, and the Ethiopian-American author told us what he finds so unique about the French literary scene.
The difference between French and Francophonie is always, I think, a very, interesting and kind of problematic debate to have. But I think it says something about the language itself and the way it's defended and sometimes policed, and the way others are also kind of making sure that they control and kind of decide its future. The language isn't contained just inside of France, right? I mean, the language is sort of global in a really interesting way, and it's asked to do certain things in different places. So when you look at, the way Daniel Leferrier uses French versus the way Amélie Nothomb, like they're different. It's the same language being employed to reflect different communities in different parts of the world.
A best-selling Haitian and Belgian author there, name-checked by Dinal. And it's not just literature. The music industry is also a great showcase for Francophonie. Let's get a reminder of some of the most popular musicians performing in French today. Take a look.
Tu fleuriras toujours au grand jardin d'amour.
Quelle belle nouvelle, que celle que tu aimes n'était qu'une étincelle.
C'était un phénomène, elle n'était pas humaine, le genre de femme qui change le plus grand délinquant en gentleman.
Ah sacré papa, dis-moi où es-tu caché? Ça doit faire au moins 1000 fois que j'ai compté mes doigts.
So a really diverse music scene there. We saw Canadian musician Charlotte Cardin, for example. Benjamin, I know Québécois culture is a big favorite for you.
Yeah, it's something I really love, like the story behind like all these new words, expressions. Like it's very funny for me to understand where the origin come from. And it's like something I like to teach like during my classes, because students want to travel to France, but they also want to travel to Quebec, to Belgium, to other countries like in Africa. So it's something very important for us.
And we were chatting about Québécois cinema, for example. Any favorites there?
I really like Xavier Dolan, like recently, like as an actor, and a producer. That's my favorite one.
And I did hear that French people need subtitles to understand that one.
We do. So yes, we do. We do sometimes, but it's normal. Like it's the way of speaking. Like it's a charm for them. Like it's their identity. So it's really nice for them.
Yeah, it's true that shows just how different
Yes.
French accents and idioms can be. Thank you so much for joining us today,
Thank you.
Benjamin. We'll wrap up the show with that very French artistic invention, cinema, as the Institut Français in Istanbul is hosting a festival of French-speaking films. They're also being screened in 18 towns across Turkey, with features from Agnès Varda, Nabil Ayouch and Emmanuel Mouret among that selection. We'll leave you with a glimpse of what's on offer. Otherwise, do check in with us next time here on Arts 24 and on our social media too.